You're listening to the Chasing PRs podcast. Today we're talking about the top 10 worst pieces of advice we've heard about running. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Chasing PRs, a podcast for everyday runners who want to make the most out of their training and achieve new personal records while managing work, family, and life outside running.
All right, everyone, I'm Rochelle.
I'm Diego.
And today we are going to talk about bad running advice.
Yes, a lot of bad running advice out there. A lot of conflicting running advice. You can hear one thing from one person and the complete opposite thing for another person, and I think that gets runners really confused and anxious. And mad. At least it makes me mad when I see two very conflicting running advices.
Yeah, and sometimes the bad advice can come from very experienced people or Instagram accounts with thousands of followers, so they must know what they're talking about, but sometimes it's bad.
Yeah, I remember now, I saw a meme once that they have two tables, one with a running coach and one with an Olympic athlete. And the Olympic athlete line was super long to get coaching from him, and the running coach had no one.
Oh, yeah.
So don't let personal records or achievements from a runner be confused with a coaching or good running advice.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
But before we talk about that, we're talking about how's our training going. Mm-hmm. We talked about last episode that Rochelle is training for the Boston Half.
Yeah.
And I'm training for the Marine Corps Marathon. What are you doing right now towards your half?
I have 2 long runs left and then it's taper time. Okay. So I'm going to get up to... It's interesting with the half marathon because if you're new to the half or if you've just done 1 or 2, you might stop your long run at 18, maybe 20K. But I've done 14 of them. So in the last few half marathons, I've gone beyond the half distance and I feel like it helps. Like it just makes the 21K feel a lot shorter. So last fall I got up to 28. This time I'll probably get up to 26, okay. I think. So I'll do 24, 26K and then I've got a 2-week taper.
And do you feel a lot of difference in your speed or in your times running more on your long runs than in the past?
Yeah. When I first started doing like my first 8 half marathons, I don't think I went past 18 or 20.
Okay.
And I would always feel just stiff in the hips and tired in the legs at around 18K. And that just doesn't happen when I do my half marathons anymore because I've gotten up to 26, 28 in the long run. So 21 relative to that doesn't feel as bad, even though I'm pushing it and going faster.
Okay.
It's just the time on feet isn't so daunting.
Cool. I don't think I've ever trained for a half marathon.
Never?
No, it's just a marathon or a 5K or a 10K.
You do the extremes.
Yeah, exactly. You can run a half if you're training for a marathon. So maybe that's interesting.
I love the half marathon distance. You can't just go run it without training, but it's not all consuming like marathon training is. It's a fun distance to do.
I agree. I like half marathons. I just never train for one.
Yeah.
What I'm doing, I just bought Morton gels and the drink mix.
Yeah.
So that's what Kipchoge.
Now you're gonna go sub 2.
if it will be awesome to be just below 2:45.
Yeah.
It will be super cool. But I'm looking forward to test it on my last long run this Sunday. It's going to be just half marathon. Mm-hmm. We talked about it last episode that I'm not running a lot of distance right now. But yeah, I'm just eager to see how it goes. Mm-hmm. First impression is the gel is way more liquid.
Oh.
Than goo, for example.
You'd have to get used to that.
Yeah, and just to not spill everything.
Yeah,
I'm afraid of spilling everything on myself because it's very liquid. But hopefully it is what they sell, like magic feeling. But one thing I loved about it is that they have a drink mix that it's 320 calories in 500 milliliters. So that's a shit ton of calories.
That's a lot.
It's like double a Gatorade, for example.
Okay.
So I'm hope I'm hoping that's gonna make a difference. And the other thing is, I usually can't do a full goo on one take. I do half of it, and they store it for because it just
Your stomach?
no, it's more in my mouth that it gets really dry,
Yeah.
and I find it hard to swallow it when I'm running at 350 or 4 pace.
Yeah.
And hopefully these hydrogels, they call them, are easy to.
Yeah, if they're more
manage.
liquidy, maybe
Yeah.
you'll get them all down in one go.
I'll have the experience about it next week.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll have to let me know because maybe I'll try it for my half.
Yeah.
I'll let you be the guinea pig with that one.
And that's the cool. I don't know if they have it in the half, but I know they give Morton gels at the Boston Marathon.
Oh,
That's super cool.
they go all out because those are expensive.
Yeah. Well,
It's
registering for the marathon
Yeah.
costs $250.
So you deserve some good high quality gel.
Exactly. Okay, so that's about our training. Let's move to the topic of the week. Our 10 worst advice we've ever heard or given. That's funny.
Or given, good idea.
Because I'm guilty of that.
Yeah.
You want to start with one?
Sure. I gave this advice 11 years ago, but I don't give it now. A lot of runners think or tell other runners that wearing minimalist shoes is the way to avoid getting injured.
Okay.
So like the Vibram 5 fingers or the Ultras, so that, you know, it makes your feet stronger and you run more naturally. We did think that 12 years ago. And when I say we, I mean that the running physio experts in the world, when we were doing courses 12 years ago, that's what we thought. Like the running clinic based out of Quebec, they're well known for their courses for healthcare professionals. And we were doing those courses and telling people minimalist shoes. But we saw the stress fracture rates escalated, a lot of injuries to the foot, the calf, the Achilles, like the knee down got injured more.
Okay.
So it's not that minimalist shoes are bad. If you're running in them, don't feel like they're bad, but don't switch to them thinking that they're going to be the be all end all and improve your performance, because they actually can increase injury rates if you do the transition too quickly.
And do you think it has anything to do with the Born to Run book?
Oh yeah, that book's so popular.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of runners come in and they're like, well, I read this and then I got the new shoes. So they've gone from like cushiony 10 millimeter heel to toe drop shoes to slippers.
Zero.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Just
guilty
too
of
quick.
that.
Yeah.
I read that book and I was like, okay, the answer to all my problems is to go run barefoot.
Yeah.
Or with very minimalistic shoes, and it didn't work out either.
And it didn't work. Yeah. And for some people it does if they do it right and make the transition slowly. But if you're looking for performance, none of the elite runners in the world are wearing minimal shoes
No.
to
Yeah.
perform. But I do have runners that have come in who have settled their knee pain and hip pain by running in minimalist
Because of
shoes,
that,
because
okay.
I think you can't really run with an aggressive heel strike in the minimalist shoes. So if they transition slowly and they start running more midfoot or a mild heel strike, then all of a sudden
It disappears.
the knees feel a little bit better. But they better do it slowly or they're just going to send the issue to their feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that leads us to the second word that it's heel running, right?
Yes.
And midfoot and forefoot
Yes.
running. What do you have to say about that?
Heel striking has been devilized,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of, like, because runners get injured all the time. There's stats that say up to 80% of runners get injured every year, and there's people out there who feel it's because we heel strike, but the best elite runners in the world heel strike, like
Yeah.
Emily Sisson and Bridget Kosgei, I might be saying her first name wrong. They are both under 220 for the marathon, and they heel strike. The heel strike isn't the problem, it's overstriding. That's the problem. So if you land on your heel out in front of your body, so if you were getting a gait analysis done, you would want to see when your heel lands on the ground that your shin or your tibia is vertical.
Okay.
So if you're landing on your heel and then your shin is vertical, you're good. But if it's slanted back, then you're overstriding, and that's a problem. That
Yeah.
puts more joint reaction forces through the knees, the shin, the hips.
Yeah, I agree completely with that one, that heel striking is bad. I once did a research on my own. It's not a professional research. And the best triathletes in the world, the guys that are winning Kona, that bike for 180 kilometers and then run a marathon in under 3 hours, that fast.
Yeah.
They all heel strike.
Yeah.
All of them heel strike. And I think it has to do with how your muscles get tired during the bike. Mm-hmm. But my point is that it's not bad to heel strike. Those guys are beasts and supernatural
Yeah.
human beings that can run that fast after 4 or 5 hours in the bike.
Yeah.
And they all heel strike. So if you heel strike and you are not getting injured, don't change it.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
I think the only reason to think about changing your strike is if you are getting injured.
Yeah, I agree. And if you midfoot strike and you're listening to this, don't think, oh, I should switch to heel striking. Because if you midfoot striking puts more pressure on the feet and the calves.
Yeah.
Heel striking puts more pressure on the hips, the back, the knees, the shin. So if you're good at midfoot striking and you're not injured, leave it alone. Yeah. Don't, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Good job. The third one, it's also one I gave a lot of years ago. When I was starting to train, if you listen to the first episode after my daughter was born, it's when I started to train consistently and with a goal, with the triathlons and running. And I've been doing sports all my life, so it came a little naturally. I'm not that slow since the beginning. But my wife asked me, okay, help me train me. And that's the worst thing you can do. Ask a random dude to help you training with training because he's fast. Okay, I had no idea what I was talking about 10 years ago, and I told her, okay, you need to go out and run at least 30 minutes at 5 minutes per kilometer pace. Obviously, she couldn't do it.
And she couldn't do that.
No.
Which most runners wouldn't be able to do.
No. And it was like, okay, there's no point. If you can do it, don't run. Yeah. Pretty much. Or I don't know what you need to do to achieve it. So she got super bumped down. It was like, oh, I want to run and I can do it, so I'm not a good runner. And that was a terrible advice. So I think, other than that my advice was terrible, I think the lesson here is that don't listen to every runner out there. Everyone has something to say. Yeah. Everyone has something to say.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's Kipchoge or the lady that ran an 8-hour marathon. They are always having something to say. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
So take everything with a grain of salt.
And make sure you're paying attention to who it's coming from, because if it's coming from your friend who's done 10 marathons and this is what works for them, great. But versus coming from a healthcare professional or a running coach with a lot of experience, people who are diving into the research and the science, as opposed to just experience.
And maybe an advice that has worked with another person. For example, that advice I gave to my wife, it was like, it works for me.
Yeah.
If I tried it and worked with a few other runners, okay, maybe I can start giving that advice, or you can start listening to me. But if it just, I've only given that advice once and it worked for me, it's probably not going to work for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So what else do you have?
I think another one, so if you go on a running forum and you type in that you have an injury and ask other runners how to deal with it, 90% of the time you're going to be told to stretch. Either you're not stretching enough or you should stretch to treat the injury. And if you look at the research and the science, there's no support for stretching in the running community. It's very specific to this sport. So, and actually when you get injured, in a lot of situations, if you stretch, you're going to make it worse. So I see people at work with tendinopathy, tendon pain, say in their Achilles, and they're stretching. And that is a good way to make it worse, because tendons don't like to be stretched when they're irritable like that.
They're not designed for that, right?
Yeah. So and you will hear this advice, and unfortunately even from like sports medicine doctors and high level people who, you would think have a lot of knowledge in the area. I've told people not to stretch, and they've told me, well, I saw my sports med doc and they said I should stretch my Achilles. But if you look at the science, and I've treated very many tendinopathies, and if I get them to stop stretch, they always feel better.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But for performance, it's also doesn't help performance. But I get people, they say, should I stretch? And my answer is always, do you like it? Does it feel good?
Yeah.
And if they say no, I say stop. And if they say yes, it feels really good, I say, well, unless you have a tendon issue, stretch all you want, because it's not going to harm them unless they're super flexible.
Okay. Yeah, I like to stretch my hips. I don't think it's stretching. It's more like open them, or gaining my mobility after a hard run or a long run. If I do some mobility exercise with my hips, I feel way better the next day. But it's not like I'm stretching, trying to touch my toes and stuff like that.
You're not holding positions for 60 seconds.
Exactly. Yeah. No. Very, very agile and mobile things. Yeah. But we said last time that we are guinea pigs, and I'm very guilty of that. So last year, when I tried to run my 11 marathons, we can talk about that in a future episode.
Yes. That's a great topic.
Yeah, I stretch a lot. I thought it was all my training towards that, trying to achieve that goal, was finding ways to recover better and faster, because I knew I wasn't going to have time to recover for a marathon, for a month, stuff like that. So I tried stretching. I don't know if it helped or not. Maybe not, because my biggest issue was a tendon.
Yes.
My Achilles tendon. So maybe that was part of the problem, now that I think about it. But this year, when I trained for my spring marathon and I trained for my 5K, I didn't stretch at all, and other than my hips. And it went great. I haven't been injured since October last year.
Yeah.
Okay, next bad advice. I have one. I once saw a guy on I can't remember if it was Instagram, Facebook, on social media, how to fix your running form. And people are obsessed with running form. And I always tell people, okay, I think there are two bad advices here. One about running form, and the other one, specifically this advice this guy did. So his advice was that you wrap your hoodie or a sweatshirt around your waist. You hold the sleeves, and you run, right? Holding the sleeves.
Without letting go of the sleeves.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the exactly right amount of flex your elbow needs to do, the exactly amount of how forward and backwards your arms need to go. And the saddest thing was that it had like a ton of likes and comments, right? And it's like these stupid influencers. Some of them have really good advice. Most don't, in my opinion, at least. But yeah, if you see those little hacks, don't do them.
They look really silly.
Yeah,
doing that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel dumb doing that, and it will probably. I learned this because a friend sent it to me, and what do you think about this? And I told her, just focus on running more. Stop trying to do all these hacks, the influencers. Their only goal is clickbait. So you like and comment, and they get more exposure. So that the advice of the sweatshirt was terrible in general, and the other one is don't listen to. Take everything with a grain of salt, right? And you posted something about running form the other day. Oh no, it was hill striking. Hill striking.
Yeah.
But when I was watching where was Kipchoge broke?
Berlin.
Berlin. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you saw how the woman that won the marathon ran? Okay.
I don't know if I saw it.
No?
Do you know what? I was probably so focused on Kipchoge breaking the world record. I don't know if I saw her
I invite
finish.
you, everyone.
That's terrible.
Yeah, go and see how she ran. I think if an influencer or someone analyze it, oh no, it's terrible running form. She
just won Berlin.
Yes, and the third fastest marathon ever.
Yeah.
So I think a really bad advice I see from runners is, no, your running form is terrible. You should be doing this. You should be doing that. You should be doing that. And we all have different running forms. And you've seen it on track, right? We have a few people running marathons under 3 hours, under 250, and all of them have a very different running form.
Absolutely.
So I think the bad advice here is that one. Don't, if you feel comfortable with it, do it. If somehow you are stuck in a pace, for example, when I started doing triathlons, my coach told me that I was pushing my foot to the sides when I was running. I wasn't driving with my hip, and I changed that, and I think I became a better runner. But it wasn't. She didn't tell me, "Oh, you're a terrible runner." It was okay. This is a pointer I'm seeing right now, and I trusted her. She qualified for the Ironman championship. So okay.
She was good.
She was good, yeah. And I trusted her in that one, but running for me is very different from people. You run very differently from every other girl in track I see.
Yeah.
And you are all fast, and we guys are all fast, and
we
believe we're fast.
Yeah, we like to think we're fast.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. You have another bad advice?
Yeah, I have another one. I fell into this as well for my first marathon. So that you need to lose weight to do well in the marathon. That you need to be lean, that you should lose weight and try to lose weight during your marathon to succeed. So everybody kind of has their ideal body weight, and it fluctuates depending on, genetics and muscle mass. But I think sometimes people start training for a marathon and they try to use it to lose weight when you should be fueling to do the training that you're doing for that marathon.
And recover for the training, yeah.
Yeah, and people can run into something like Red S, which we can talk about on a different episode, but it's relative energy deficiency in sport. So it just means that you're not taking in enough energy to meet the demands of what you're doing, and you start to get injured and have, mood issues, and performance is low. And when I went to Italy, I got into that. So it was I believe it was 2014. And I had I picked a number and I thought, this is the number, like I'm going to try to get to this weight for this marathon.
I think that's the wrong thing, to pick a random number.
Yeah,
right?
It made no sense. There's no science behind it. And looking back at pictures, I was skinny. Yeah, yeah. And I don't feel like I felt strong. I don't think I was fueling correctly now that I know so much more about it.
Yep.
So I think that would be my, piece of bad advice that I've been given. And I tried it out, guinea pig. It's no good. That you need to lose weight to be fast. It's often not true.
On the other hand, I read once that for every pound that you lose, you can run 2 seconds faster a mile.
I think so I had read Racing Weight by Matt Fitzgerald, and that's what got me set on this certain weight. And there's no doubt, like if you're 200 pounds and you lose 20 pounds, you're going to run a faster marathon. But I think you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. And I think if you decide that you'd like to lose weight to be faster, you need to do it before your marathon training starts, as opposed to doing it when your fueling is vital.
Yeah, I think that's the key here. That don't try to lose weight when you're training for a marathon, because you need the fueling and the calories to.
Yeah, and lighter isn't always better.
Not always.
In a lot of cases.
Yeah,
because I've seen elite runners where they're 10 pounds heavier getting PRs compared to like 2 years before. But it's often muscle mass, and they're just fueling better.
Yeah.
They look great,
yeah.
But they're fueling better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have another one? Another bad
yeah, advice? Let's do... I Pace Bunny did this last year at, I think it was Mississauga. One of my patients... So she goes and she's trying to qualify for Boston, and she's trying to go under 3:30. And the Pace Bunny at the beginning of the race hadn't even started yet. And he said, we're going to go out fast so we can bank some time. And that advice, like go out when you're feeling good really quick so you can bank some time for later. That's bad advice, because you're going to pay it back. You're going to blow up. So if you go out because you're feeling good at the beginning of a marathon, so you go out a bit quicker. So she ended up she needed a 5-minute pace. And she ended up going out at a 4:50, and then when 32K hit, because she was going, it was only 10 seconds per kilometer quicker, but 4:50 is a lot different than 5.
Yeah.
She blew up, and I think she could have gotten her 3:30 if she had gone out and not tried to bank time. Yeah,
I think this link to the one I was going to say. It's like, don't ask for advice or a lot of advice on your first marathon, because. If you ask 10 runners, you're going to get 10 different answers about how you need to approach your marathon.
Yeah.
Right? How to fuel, if you're negative split or not, to go fast on downhills or not. Everyone has a different experience. So maybe do your first marathon, if you're talking about marathons, and then learn from there. Okay, I feel this way. How can I ask this guy about it, or this runner about it? And just try to incorporate it into your own experience and into your training. Not just, I'm gonna blow up. I'm gonna do a completely different thing next marathon. So it's just adding up things rather than just taking everything for granted that a fast runner says.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have another one? I don't have another one.
Yeah, I think we've got. What are we at? 8? I think we have 2 more.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Trying to, this is one. Actually, this is one that I believed until 2 years ago.
Okay.
So I feel like this one might surprise people. So running more to get faster. Just if you want to get better, you just need to run more. More volume. So the higher you can get your weekly mileage, the better. And I think in some cases it's true, but if you think of us like normal, everyday runners. So we're not elite athletes. I know there's a certain mileage, really beyond 80K a week, that it's not going to fit into my life.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I've got a 5-year-old daughter. I work full time. There's other commitments that I do other than running, and 80K a week. Like I'm sure if I ran 90 or 100 kilometers a week, I'd probably get even faster with the marathon. But then I think I'm going to be not recovering well from them because I'm going to cut into my sleep to fit those extra miles in the morning. And we know I'm not a morning runner.
Yeah.
And then there'll be more stress trying to fit it all in. So I feel like some runners feel like just to get better at running, you need to run more. And I think in a lot of cases it's true, unless you're trying to jam it in. Like realistically, you have to figure out what can you fit into your week. So if you have like a single mom with 3 kids who works full time, she's not going to be able to do the same weekly mileage as someone who's like no kids, part-time job.
Yep.
All they do is run. They don't do anything else. Their weekly mileage recommendations should probably be a bit different.
Yeah, I think the lesson here is that, if you run more, you're going to get faster.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't recover from those runs, it's not going to happen. So you can add mileage as long as you are being able to recover from that mileage. Mm-hmm. No, for example, that elite runners that run 100 miles weeks, they nap.
Yeah.
I don't have time to nap.
Yeah.
So I don't have time to run 160 kilometers.
Cam Levins just broke the Canadian record. I feel like it was 2:07. 300 kilometers plus a week. He did over 300 kilometers.
But that's the only thing he do.
That's all he's doing. He's run, nap, eat.
Yeah, exactly. If you can run more and you can sleep 7, 8, 9 hours a day and you can recover for them, go for it.
Yeah.
Run more, it's going to help you, but not at the expense of, as you were saying, sleeping less, being more stressed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And another bad advice.
So this is the physio brain. So this is the last one, number 10. The no pain, no gain.
Okay.
So I think you have to classify the pain. So when I did my 1957 5K, I was in a lot of pain that race. Like that, 3K on, I was 3:58 pace and it was hurting, but I pushed it. And that's a different kind of pain. That's okay to push through that. But I feel like a lot of runners, they're so used to pushing through pain in a marathon or an ultra or a 5K that when they get a little niggle in their heel or their knee or their hip, it's like no pain, no gain, got to go out anyway. And instead of listening to their body and recognizing that little 2 out of 10 heel pain as a warning that they're overdoing it, it's like, it's part of the sport, and off they go for their long run the next day. And now that 2 out of 10 is a 4 out of 10. And then they keep running, and now it's a 6. And now they're in my office because they're hobbling and can't run.
And they can run their race.
Yeah. So it's that no pain, no gain mentality in running. If we could get rid of that, I'd probably be out of a job.
Okay. So pain and gain, it's fine. No, there's a very interesting TED Talk called No Pain, No Gain, I believe. And it's about a researcher in Sweden, I want to say, Norway, I can't remember. And the whole concept is about that. The no pain, no gain, it's bad. But as you're saying, pain for me during a race, it's part of a race.
Yeah.
Right?
And I feel like the best runners in the world mentally can handle that racing pain.
Yes. But not during training.
Yes.
Because you're not recovering and it's just going to get worse. Because when you race, you have a week or a month or whatever you want to recover, right? But when you're training, you need to run at least in the next 2 days.
Yeah.
Or strength train or the next day or stuff like that. So if you're just making it worse, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, okay, those are our 10 worst advice for runners we've heard. If you know more, feel free to write to us. Go to chasingprs.run. There's an email or a form there to contact us. And let's talk about the runner of the week.
Crystal Gauthier. Crystal ran 3 hours, 31 minutes, and 51 seconds at the county marathon, and she's been chasing that Boston qualifying time for a little while now, and she got it.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I heard that it was a very tough race. Everyone that ran it, hilly, with a headwind.
Yeah, big headwind apparently, especially at the end.
Yeah, so I think it was really special for her. And I think it's worth mentioning once because it's a Boston qualifier time. I think every BQ is worth mentioning. And the second is that she has 3 kids. She works. And so she has like a regular life. It's not like I have a lot of time to train. She get long runs at 5:30 a.m. sometimes, stuff like that. So that's why she's the runner of the week, because she really...
she has that work-life balance just nailed down. And she prioritizes still. She goes to their camper with the kids on the weekend, and it's super hilly there, but she's running anyway. She's got it all figured out. And
she did it, and we are super happy for you and proud. And that's why Crystal is the runner of the week. If you want to nominate someone for the runner of the week, you can go to chasingprs.run. We have a form there, and we'll be happy to showcase any worth mentioning running of a regular runner. That it's the goal of the podcast, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So now before we end this second episode of Chasing PR's podcast, we're going to talk about the chasing sprints. If you haven't heard the first episode, chasing sprints are just interesting news over the weekend, right? Interesting news about elite athletes or worth mentioning records, stuff like that. So what do we have today, Rochelle?
In Canada, it was a big deal. Natasha Wodak in Berlin broke the Canadian record for the marathon. So she ran 2:23:12 to break Melindy Elmore's previous record. And she looked so strong in the videos I saw at the end of that race. So that was a big deal.
I found that people that break records usually look strong at the end.
Yeah,
so that's an
interesting,
for dear life. Yeah, exactly. That's an interesting thing to notice. Right?
Yeah.
If you break a record, it's not.
And now that you said that, so the other one we were going to mention is Emily Sisson, and she broke Kira D'Amato's American record also for the marathon. She did 2:18:29 in Chicago, and if you look at the video of her finishing, she is flying and looks so strong.
Yeah, I think her last kilometer was like her fastest, right?
She looked amazing, and she broke the American record. So 2 very fast female runners in the last month.
That's really cool. And if you look at Kipchoge when he runs 2-hour marathons, he always looks fresh.
Oh, he just looks amazing always.
I hope I look like that at the end of the marathon. I doubt it, but
I would be happy if I looked like that at the beginning of the marathon.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much for listening to this second episode of the podcast, and see you on the next one.
Tune in next time.
Exactly. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode. If you love it, give it a share. Please consider subscribing to the show and leaving a rating and review on iTunes or Spotify. And visit chasingprs.run for all the latest episodes, get our free newsletter, and all the cool running stuff we have there. Thanks for joining.